Hey people, it's Michael from the Kids Library and welcome to another 3D printing class. If you haven't seen them, check out the other 3D printing classes that I've done before. They're on our Elmhurst Public Library YouTube channel, and the links for them are going to be in the description of this video. They'll show you how to sign up for Tinkercad, which is the website we use for designing, and they'll show you how to do some of the stuff that I'm going to show you today. Alright, let's get started. First we're going to sign into Tinkercad, and then we're going to be clicking Create New Design here. Your workspace is going to be blank, but I've got some examples that I already made to show you. So it is going to be Halloween in about a week, so I thought I would make some cool Halloween designs. So the first one is thankfully pretty easy. Tinkercad does all of the work for us. It's just a little skeleton head that you can print by itself or make a handle to hang it on something or put it on a keychain. So to find that, we are going to click on this thing that says Tinkercad Basic Shapes, this menu. And we are going to go down to Printables and then click on Skeleton here. And then it's the skeleton skull. We're just going to drag it out here. We don't need to worry about changing the size or anything. You can also, if you'd like to, take some bones out to print with it here. So to make a little handle to put on our skeleton head, let's go back to Basic Shapes. Alright, click in the menu here. And we are going to, if we scroll down, there's this thing called a torus, which is kind of like a ring. Let's drag it out. So with this torus shape, there's a cool little menu here in the top right, this box that lets us choose some options for how it's shaped. And there's this one called tube. It's the second one down. Right now it's 2.5. We're going to click that, and then it's going to let us enter a number. We're just going to put 1, and then we're going to press enter. And that just changes how thick it is. Now we don't need this whole ring, so we are going to cut off part of it. So the easiest way to do that is if we scroll up to this striped box. That's what's called like a hole, sort of. And what happens is it's kind of transparent, and when it's combined with something, it cuts off that bit where they overlap. So right now I've got it so that this box kind of cuts the ring almost in half. I kind of leave it to like a third or so. And so then when we highlight these two and then group it, it cuts off that bit that's overlapping here. There we go. Once we're done with that, we need to make it stand up. So how we're going to do that is, and it's much easier to do all this if we move the camera around, which I'm doing by right-clicking right now and dragging. That gives us different perspectives, and it just makes the whole thing way easier. So now we are going to make it stand up. There are these curvy arrows here. We're going to do this one here that lets us rotate it up. And so we can either type in 90, or we could just drag it carefully to 90. That's all stood up now. Now let's get it to line up with our skull. So let's drag it over. We're going to drag it so it's kind of inside the skull right now. And then there's this black cone that lets us move that shape up. So we're going to click that and we're going to drag it upwards. And we want it to overlap the skull so that we make sure it's attached. Like this, and then let's try and just straighten it out. Alright, perfect. So now we want to group these two together so they are one shape. So we kind of click and drag these two and then hit group. There we go. Alright, now that we are finished with Mr. Skeleton, let's move on to the jack-o'-lantern. So thankfully, Tinkercad has once again done most of the work for us. Let's go back to that menu and click on characters this time. It's right under Basic Shapes. And at the bottom of this menu, there is a pumpkin and a jack-o'-lantern. So let's drag the jack-o'-lantern onto our workspace. So for the jack-o'-lantern, we are going to kind of hollow it out so that we can put something inside. To do that, let's go back to Basic Shapes. And then we are going to click on the striped cylinder, that hole shape and then drag it here. We're going to change the size by clicking on one of these corners. It's at 20 and 20. Let's change it to 32 long and 32 wide. So now let's line it up with our pumpkin. And now we are going to raise that cylinder up high with that black arrow. We're going to drag it up 17. As you can see, the number to the right of that black cone, so we have it set to 17. There we go. Make sure it's centered, and now let us drag, and we're going to group it. It's going to take a second. And there we go. Now we've got our hollowed out jack-o'-lantern. So now that we have that hollowed out, we can put something on the inside of that there when we print it out. And now let's do pretty much the same thing, but this time we are going to keep everything, or we are going to get rid of everything except to the very top. So let's drag out another jack-o'-lantern. Go back to characters. We're going to drag it out to our workspace. We're going to do that same thing again with the cylinders. When we go back to basic shapes, you're going to drag this striped cylinder. And we are going to make it the same size as before, 32 wide and 32 long. We're going to move that on just like we did earlier. Try and center it on the pumpkin. But instead of moving this cylinder up 17 high, we're going to move it 4 down. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Perfect. Now we're going to click and drag and select these two, and then we're going to group it. And it's going to take its time. And now we've got our lid that we can put on. There we go. So for printing it out, we're going to want to print them separately so they're not stuck together. And we can put stuff inside, so we're going to just lower this to the ground. And these two are going to print separately. So now you can put something on the inside of this and then close it off with the top we just made. So you can put a little light inside of this jack-o'-lantern. Just do not use an actual candle. This stuff stinks really bad when it burns, and it's really not good to breathe that in either. If we want to make our own jack-o'-lantern, like make our own face with it, Tinkercad also has a pumpkin we can do stuff with. So if we go back from basic shapes to characters, scroll all the way down, next to jack-o'-lantern there is a pumpkin. Let's drag that out into our workspace. For the pumpkin, it's going to be a little harder to work with. So let's go back to basic shapes. And so say if we want eyes and a mouth, we're going to carve up little holes in there, just like you would in real life. We're going to use those cylinders again to make a hole inside of it. So now we've got our cylinder. We are going to drag it, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees, just like before. Be hard to do sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, you gotta type it in. Alright. And now we're gonna make it smaller. However big you want to make the eyes. Okay, and we want 2 of those, so we're gonna Control C and Control V. That makes an exact copy of it. So now we've got 2 cylinders here, and let's drag them up with that black arrow. If you ever mess up or something, Control Z is your best friend. That just undoes whatever stupid thing you might have done. Okay. Okay, now we click and drag and group it. So the downside is that this isn't hollow on the inside, so we can't put stuff inside of it like the jack-o'-lantern that was already made. But say, and if we want to make a mouth too, we could use like the round roof piece here, flip it upside down, just like this. Try to get it to 180. There. Make it smaller. Move it on over. Make it smaller again. However big you want it to be. Now let's do the same thing. Click drag. Hit group. Oh, whoops, I did not make that shape a hole, so normally we can drag this box and cylinder that are striped that are already made into a hole, but for other shapes we have to click on that shape, use that top right menu here, click hole, and then we're going to group it again. See, now, doesn't that look not scary whatsoever? You guys are certainly going to make scarier ones than I can. So once you choose which one you want to make, you probably only want to do one, and then you finish it. What you can do is hit the export button up here, and you're going to click for 3D print the STL button. That's what's going to save it as. And then that's going to download probably to the downloads folder on your computer, and it's going to take a second. Come on, Tinkercad, you can do it. Alright, so it downloaded our design. Now what we're going to do is to submit it. You can go on our website, elmerspubliclibrary.org. We're going to go to the menu here that says create. We're going to hover over it. And then in the Makery section, there's something that says Makery equipment. If you click on that, and then you click on submit your 3D print here under reserve, that opens up the 3D printing form. So you and your parent are probably going to want to fill out the name, email, the library card number, and then you want to choose which color you're going to use, white or orange probably. Don't worry about typing in any of the object dimensions. And then to submit your design, there's a thing that says attach file. So you hit choose file. That's going to bring up a little menu where you can probably go to your downloads folder and then click on the file that your design saved as. And then below that, there's a little box for additional information. So what you're going to want to type is for 3D printing class 1022, and that is going to let them know that they're going to print it for free for you guys, and then put it at the drive up where you can pick it up. So I hope all y'all have a great Halloween, and thank you for watching.